5 years since the Indian government unilaterally changed their constitution. And within their constitution, there was a special status for Jammu and Kashmir. And it was written into the Indian constitution for a reason. And that was so that the status of Jammu and Kashmir would be protected until the day the Kashmiri people had the say in that plebiscite that was promised in the 1940s. Now, most of you know that when I was at university, I did my dissertation on the end of the British Empire in India. So it's kind of how I got to know a bit more than perhaps David knows on the issue of Kashmir. And you've got to understand how India was organised during the British times to understand how we got to the situation today. Because most of us think of British India as being one big monolithic political entity, and nothing was further from the truth. You see, lots of India was originally governed by the British East India Company, and when that was effectively nationalised in 1858 by the British government and the company's properties were transferred to the Crown, that's the bit that was called the Raj. That was the bit that was governed directly by the Viceroy of India on behalf of the Crown. The rest of it were the princely states that, at least in theory, were still independent states, although they'd signed treaties with the British for protection. So if you were a British subject within the Raj, the area governed directly by Britain, you were just that, you were a British Indian subject. If you were a citizen living within the princely states, you were a subject of the prince or the Maharaja, because it was an independent entity, and on your passport you would be a British protected person rather than a British subject. Why does that matter? Because in 1947, when the British government gave independence, it split the Raj, the bit that was directly governed by Britain, into two new dominions, Pakistan and India. The princely states that had signed treaties with Britain regained their full independence. In that Act of Parliament that's still there in Westminster, in the Victoria Tower, it says it in black and white. The following areas go to the Dominion of Pakistan, the following areas go to the Dominion of India, and the princely states regain their full independence. But the princely states could choose which of the two dominions they could join if they wanted to. And that is the choice that was denied the people of Kashmir in 1947 and in decades since. And that is why it really matters today. Because the people of Kashmir have still been left without their choice. And I can't speak now in Parliament on this issue because I'm a minister and I can only speak on health matters in the House of Commons. But in the British government, you have got lots of friends of Kashmir, and we can use back channels to speak to ministers about this issue. So we're not fully voiceless. Myself and Andrew, we can still speak to our colleagues in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office on these issues. But the baton will go to all those new MPs that were elected on the 4th of July. And we got a lot of friends of Kashmir. in the Parliamentary Labour Party who will be vocal, who will apply pressure, and who will urge the new government to use all its diplomatic responsibilities to bring about what is in the National Policy Forum's agreed document prior to the general elections. So the policy of the Labour Party is this: a diplomatic effort to bring Pakistan and India together to talk about a future